How y'all doing? So, welcome finally again to another cigar video. It's very beautiful outside. I'm kind of at a park and having a cigar. This is a Macanudo Inspirado. It's pretty good so far. Nice mellow cigar. So I wanted to talk about today how I got into cigars, how often I smoke cigars. Just kind of, we're going to cover that. So let's talk about my history with cigars. So I don't really wouldn't even say I have a history or a big history with cigars. So this started, I'd say about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, when I turned 21. I kind of realized I have the option if I want to smoke something. Now, I vowed to myself that I wasn't going to smoke cigarettes. I wasn't going to smoke cigarillos or anything. If I was going to try anything, it was going to be a cigar. But at the same time, I thought, and what I knew at the time was, man, I can't smoke cigars because you inhale them. I was soon to find out that you don't inhale cigars into your lungs, of course. You just draw the smoke into your mouth for the taste, blow it out, and that's it. It never reaches your lungs. And I discovered that a little bit before I tried my first cigar. The reason, I've always kind of had an interest in cigars, and the reason being, my grandfather smoked cigars, or what I assumed was cigars. Everyone in the family called them cigars. Just ashed. But what my grandfather actually was smoking were gas station cigarillos or Swisher Sweets. They were cheap. I've tried them, I've reviewed them on my channel before. I know a second ago I mentioned I wouldn't smoke cigarillos, but because my grandfather tried them or smoked them, that's all he smoked, I figured I'd try something that is kind of in the family legacy. It was cool watching him smoke them. He always smelled like cigars and whatnot, or what I thought were cigars. So I tried them, and they're like, compared to a cigar, they're nothing. I wouldn't say they're nothing. There's nostalgia for it, but they're not cigars, and he would inhale them into his lungs. But I don't ever get those. I always get cigars. I just tried those for a review on my channel because he smoked them. I did just inhale into the mouth, blow out, but those weren't my first. That wasn't the first thing I smoked. I said we're going to be reviewing my history of cigars, so we're going to exclude those. It was about 4 years ago. I was 21, and one day it kind of dawned on me, back before I didn't know that Swisher Sweets were cigarillos. I'm like, my grandfather smoked cigars, what I thought were cigars. I kind of want to try one. And then a few days before I smoked my first cigar, I looked it up and I realized you don't inhale cigars into your lungs. So that was a huge perk for me. It's like, okay, this is great. I'm not inhaling these. I'm not going to be inhaling these into my lungs. But at the time, I kind of had that internal vow that I would never smoke at all. So, I felt dirty before I even decided to smoke a cigar. And then I run to a gas station, not knowing where to even go to get a cigar, thinking they'd have one. And it turns out, magically, they actually had cigars. They were this same brand, Macanudo, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but you can't see it, but they had this same brand in single serve packs that you could buy, and it was about $7-8. It was this green pack. In the next video I might mention the name, but it was this light green lime colored pack with a real cigar in it. And I didn't know at the time that to get cigars, authentic, high quality, good cigars, all natural, you go to humidors or a cigar bar or what have you. I didn't know that really you can't find cigars at gas stations. I got very, very lucky. The gas station near my home happened to actually carry two different types of cigars. This one, and then I think a punch, some sort of punch cigar. So I got lucky, brought it home that day, and didn't have a cutter, because I didn't know you had to cut them. I just bought it and thought they were, light it up, ready to smoke. I didn't have any experience with cigars. So I go in and I see my girlfriend at the time, now my ex. I see her in the apartment and I'm like, how do I smoke this thing? What do I do? She's like, you got to cut the end off. I'm like, what? So I grab a kitchen knife without this, I think it was without the serrated teeth, and I kind of saw at it and I cut it, and I didn't know how, you know, that you're not supposed to go super deep or whatever. Thankfully, it didn't unroll on me, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly. But I cut the cigar to the best of my ability, and I take like a cheap $1 50-cent lighter, Bic lighter from the gas station that I bought, and I start walking around the apartment, almost nervously walking around trying to avoid people. Kind of. I don't know how to describe it. I just felt dirty smoking a cigar because for my entire life I vowed internally that I would never smoke cigarettes, cigarillos, cigars. And smoking my first cigar, that Macanudo, whatever it was, if that's how you pronounce it, I kind of felt cool. I kind of felt like my grandfather, but at the same time, every time I'd smoke, you know, my first few cigars, I always felt kind of dirty. Like I was like, ew, this is dirty. It tastes okay, I guess. It tastes like smoke, but, and that went on like those, like me feeling dirty about it went on for the first few cigars, like maybe the first 6 or 8 that I had. Eventually that went away. I did some research on the cigars, you know, after my first couple. I bought a cutter. I still lit them with like Bic lighters, which is, that's okay. I don't really see anything wrong with it. People say that some lighters can taint the taste of cigars. I use a Zippo. I have a torch as well, a proper cigar torch, but I have this silver Zippo that I like, that I carry around with me. Here it is. I just use that to light a good high quality fuel. You can't taste it in these. Can't smell it either. So then it was maybe my 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th cigar, if I'm recalling correctly from memory. I actually went to a humidor and finally picked up, you know, went to a proper humidor, looked at the wide array of cigars that they had. If you never tried a cigar, it's overwhelming to walk into a humidor. What a humidor is it's this, just like they vary in size, but it's this little room you go in that has a certain humidity in it to keep the cigars in a fine balance between not too wet, not too dry. You have to keep a bit of humidity in cigars or they don't light properly, they don't stay lit. And that was, I didn't know that at the time. This is a really good cigar so far. It's a little uneven, so I'm gonna touch it up as we talk. But, so I go into the humidor and I am pretty overwhelmed with what's going on. I see a million different types of cigars. I see different colors, different sizes, and I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. I think I asked for help, but I didn't even know what I really wanted. I started to research cigars after my first few cigars, but I didn't research extensively and like try to learn a whole lot about them. I went into the humidor and I think I just grabbed one. And that pattern went on for like maybe 2-3 months before I started to actually kind of get what I liked or understand what I liked. Whew, getting a lot of smoke. Tastes really good though, slightly peppery. Which I'm not a huge peppery, tingly feeling. I don't really like that in cigars, but this is pretty good. Anyway, so I vividly remember one time, the first humidor I went to, I believe, was in Brownsburg, Indiana, because I didn't know that there was a cigar humidor in Avon, which is closer to where I live. So I go there, and I vividly remember one time I picked this really dark, big cigar. I don't even remember the brand, but it was really big, it was dark. Thankfully, it didn't get me sick, but I remember buying that a day before I went to a turkey run park with my friend. I bought 2 that day, that big dark one and then this like lighter one, I think. And I went up to my grandmother's that night, walked around, smoked it, and I tried to, like, when I'd walk by her house, I'd do laps around the block. I would like see if she was looking or whatever. And then when I went to Turkey Run, I had this huge, big, dark cigar. Tasted pretty good, but I didn't know what I was doing, really. And then fast forward another month or two, and I discovered flavor-infused cigars, which you can find a couple reviews on my channel. I think I reviewed an Acid and a Don Rafa. I used to love the Don Rafas. They're these flavor-infused cigars, like vanilla cognac, like a cherry one, some sort of mint. But before those, I loved the Drew Estates. I still do. I haven't gotten one in like a year and a half, 2 years, but Drew Estate makes these nice, like almost thin mint cigars with this mint flavor, and the dark wrapper tastes like dark chocolate. It's really lovely. And I also do remember, I forgot about this. I think my second or third cigar ever, I actually went up to a firearm shop in Brownsburg called Premier Arms. I was just walking around that day and noticed they had a small humidor cabinet of cigars. And this guy, one of the guys that worked there walked up to me and he was describing to me the cigars they had. And I remember him picking out one. He's like, this almost tastes like coffee. I vividly remember his hands moving, very professional. He's like, this is almost like a coffee. If you're into coffee, this almost tastes like a mocha or something. So I had it, didn't really taste like coffee, but I was gonna blow smoke rings, but it's slightly, there's a little bit of a draft outside. So I remember going to near Southwest Way in Indianapolis to have that mocha cigar, walking around by the soccer fields. I was lost for the first maybe 3-4 months of having some cigars, and I wouldn't have too many. I would have maybe one every 2 weeks, or two every 2 weeks, maybe 3 every 2 weeks if I was feeling, if I had a bit of a more craving than normal, if I was craving them a little bit more. I still do the same thing. I'll have like one cigar every 2 months, or right now, you know, this is my second cigar in a few days. So I get in these spurts where sometimes I want a couple cigars a week, and then I'll stop for like a few months. I don't smoke cigars a whole lot, but I do enjoy them. So after a few months, I started to actually learn about the flavors, about how to cut it, about how to light it. And then I think about 5-6 months into smoking, no, I would say maybe about 1.5 years into smoking cigars, I bought the Zippo, and I've had this Zippo for about 3.5 years. It's just a simple silver Zippo. I love it. But yeah, I used to love, before I got into just the standard non-flavored, non-flavor infused cigar, I loved the Don Rafas. They're not a well-known company, but I found them at the Humidor in Brownsburg. But they're notorious for, like, they're always a little too damp, and I don't think it was a humidor problem, or they were always really squishy. They're not super, super high quality, but they're not bad quality either. They can be pretty inconsistent sometimes. I don't know if it's because of the flavor that they the flavor that they infuse into the cigar, if it has an effect on that. But now that's kind of my history. I just, you know, now today I have a few every few months. I maybe, if I had to average it out, I'd maybe have 3 cigars every 3 months, 4 months. And then I'll go on my spurts where I'll have 2 a week for a couple weeks, and then I'll just stop. I don't smoke these every day. I like to smoke them outdoors. I don't really like to go in I like to smoke them in cigar bars sometimes, but outdoors, I don't know. It's kind of nice and peaceful, and you see it's beautiful behind me. And we're gonna close with me maybe encouraging some of you to try cigars, because I don't encourage cigarette smoking. I don't encourage inhaling anything into your lungs. But you know, I see a lot online. Sometimes there's backlash from people that don't really know about cigars. And I was in the same boat. I watched a video of this smoking cigar contest, all these guys sitting in a room seeing who could hold their ash the longest. And I'm like, man, these guys are gonna be on these guys are gonna be on oxygen machines in 80 years, because they're inhaling all. Little did I know, you don't inhale into your lungs. Is there secondhand smoke risks? Yes. Even less so outside. It immediately blows away. And I hold the cigar off to the side, so it's not really blowing in my face. But people are always worried about the health concerns. People, even if they know you don't inhale it into their lungs, they're like, oh, you're still gonna get mouth cancer. You're still gonna get some sort of cancer. And you know what I say to that? That is damn good, is what I say. Seriously though, stress is a big killer in life, and these I have a chance to kind of wind down, to relax a little bit, to think, to reflect. And for people that preach that these things are unhealthy, check your diet. Do you eat a lot of fresh food? Do you cook a lot at home? Do you exercise? I can ask questions, I can fire right back at people, because it doesn't really, at the end of the day, we can all try so hard to be healthy, but I might get hit by a bus tomorrow. I might be 6 feet under in 2 weeks. I don't know. Enjoy things that are within reason, that aren't going to kill you. Yeah, maybe, small chance, mouth cancer. If I was to smoke one a day, I have a couple a month, if that, a couple every few months. I'm not a huge cigar smoker. I love them. I love cigars. I think they're a nice social thing. They bring people together. You can have nice conversations with people that enjoy cigars. But, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of backlash from people that don't smoke cigars. And if you ever encounter one of those people, ask them those things. How's your diet? What foods do you eat? How stressed are you? Are you getting enough sleep? You know, for someone that says you're doing something unhealthy, you can find 10 things they're doing that's unhealthy. I'm not oblivious to the fact that these things are not pieces of broccoli. They're not almonds. They're not actually healthy, but they're not really unhealthy in moderation. So that's kind of my cigar history, and a little chat about the health effects of cigars. I hope you liked it. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time I have a cigar.